Eric came home early that afternoon, still wearing his work suit. I was in the backyard overseeing the final touches for tomorrow's anniversary party. White roses lined the fence, string lights hung between trees, and our children were helping my mother arrange chairs. 10 years of marriage deserved celebration, and I'd spent weeks planning every detail. I heard the back door slam and turned to see Eric walking toward me, his face cold and expressionless. Our decorator paused mid-step, sensing something wrong. My mother looked up from the dessert table. "Eric, you're home early," I said, smiling nervously. "Everything okay?" He stopped 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, and said 5 words that shattered everything. "Maya, take the kids and leave." The world tilted sideways. Our guests arriving tomorrow flashed through my mind. The flowers I'd ordered, the cake being delivered in the morning. "What?" I whispered. "You heard me," he said louder so everyone could hear. "Pack your things, this isn't your home anymore." My mother gasped. The decorator's clipboard clattered to the ground. Tyler appeared in the doorway holding balloons, confusion spreading across his 7-year-old face. And there on our patio table I spotted it, a burgundy scarf, Lena's scarf, my best friend who'd helped me plan this entire party. I tried to process what was happening. Could this really be unfolding on the eve of our 10th anniversary? The party we'd spent weeks planning together. Eric stood rigid near the doorway, arms crossed, while our guests shuffled uncomfortably. Some grabbed their coats, mumbling excuses about early mornings. Others pretended to examine our family photos on the wall, anywhere but at me. My mother's face had gone pale, her mouth opening and closing without sound. I replayed the past months in fast forward. The late nights Eric claimed were work emergencies. The secretive phone calls he took in the garage. The credit card statement with charges from hotels I'd never visited. The expensive jewelry box I'd found hidden in his car trunk that never made it to me. Each memory clicked into place like pieces of a horrible puzzle. Lena's increased visits to our home when Eric worked from home, her perfume lingering in our hallway. The inside jokes they shared that excluded me. How had I been so blind? Or had I simply refused to see? My heart hammered against my ribs as the truth solidified. This wasn't a breakdown. This was an execution. I moved through our bedroom like a ghost, pulling clothes from drawers and stuffing them into our children's backpacks. 7-year-old Tyler watched from the doorway, confusion clouding his brown eyes. 4-year-old Emma clung to her stuffed rabbit, sensing something terrible but unable to name it. "Mommy, why are we packing?" Tyler asked, his voice small and frightened. I couldn't answer. If I spoke, I'd shatter completely. Downstairs, I heard Eric's voice, calm and reassuring, explaining to the remaining guests that I'd been unstable lately, stressed, overreacting to nothing. My hands shook as I zipped Emma's bag. The guests believed him. I could hear it in their murmured sympathies. Poor Eric, dealing with an emotional wife. They had no idea. None of them knew about the joint account I'd checked yesterday, now mysteriously depleted by $40,000. Money we'd saved for years vanished. I'd planned to ask Eric about it tonight after the party, giving him the benefit of doubt. Now I understood. He'd been preparing his exit, securing his future while I decorated our home for an anniversary celebration that meant nothing to him. Sleep was impossible that night at my mother's small apartment. I lay awake on her lumpy couch, staring at the ceiling while my children slept in her spare bedroom. At 3 a.m, I opened my laptop and started digging through our financial documents. That's when I found it buried in old emails. Our prenuptial agreement. I'd forgotten we'd even signed one, so confident was I in our forever. My lawyer father had insisted on it before our wedding. The terms were clear. If we divorced before our 10th anniversary, I'd receive minimal support. After 10 years, everything split 50-50. Our anniversary was tomorrow. Today, technically, since it was past midnight. Eric's timing suddenly made perfect sense. He'd engineered this public humiliation precisely now to ensure I left emotionally devastated and legally disadvantaged. If he filed first, claiming abandonment, he could twist the narrative. Paint me as unstable, unfit, gone. My father's voice echoed in my memory from years ago. "Maya, always protect yourself. Love is beautiful, but legal protection is practical." I'd rolled my eyes then, young and idealistic. Now his wisdom felt like a lifeline thrown across dark waters. I didn't sleep. Instead, I opened a hidden folder on my laptop I'd created 6 months ago when my suspicions first began. Hotel receipts from Eric's email that he'd forgotten to delete. Screenshots of flirty text messages between him and Lena that I'd photographed from his phone while he showered. Bank statements showing mysterious transfers. Photos of the jewelry I'd found, still in its velvet box, with a card that read to my future, "Love, E." I hadn't wanted to be that wife. The suspicious, paranoid one who invaded privacy and assumed the worst. But something in my gut had screamed warnings I couldn't ignore. So I'd watched quietly, documenting everything while maintaining my loving wife facade. Eric thought I was naive, trusting, easily fooled. He had no idea I'd been 3 steps ahead, gathering ammunition for a war I'd hoped would never come. Now that war had arrived at my doorstep, and I wasn't entering it unarmed. I'd already consulted a divorce attorney 3 weeks ago, using a counseling appointment as my cover story. Everything was ready. I just needed to execute the plan. The next morning, I created backup copies of everything. Every file, every photo, every bank record went onto 3 separate flash drives. One I mailed to my mother's safety deposit box. One I gave to my brother for safekeeping. One I kept hidden in my daughter's toy box, inside a hollowed-out teddy bear. Eric's pattern of deleting evidence wouldn't save him this time. I'd learned his passwords months ago when he'd asked me to check his email during a family vacation. He'd never changed them, too arrogant to imagine I'd use that access. Every secret transfer he'd made to his private account was documented. Every dollar he'd siphoned from our joint savings was traced. Every lie he'd told his boss about working late was contradicted by hotel check-in times. The digital trail painted a damning picture. Then I heard it. Standing in my mother's kitchen, the baby monitor from Emma's room picked up sounds from my phone lying nearby. Eric's voice, crystal clear, talking to someone on speaker. "The plan worked perfectly," he laughed. "She left without a fight. By tomorrow, everything transfers to my name. Lena, we're free." My hands clenched around my coffee mug. The game had truly begun. I returned to our house that afternoon while Eric was at work, using my key before he could change the locks. The place felt foreign now, tainted. I moved through rooms where we'd celebrated birthdays, where Tyler took his first steps, where Emma learned to read. Each memory felt like a betrayal. But I kept my face neutral, my movements purposeful. I wasn't here for nostalgia. I was here for evidence. In Eric's study, I found his laptop open, password helpfully saved. I plugged in my flash drive and copied his entire hard drive. Emails to Lena spanning 8 months, detailing their affair and their plan to start fresh. Messages to his lawyer discussing asset protection strategies. A spreadsheet calculating how much he'd keep if the divorce went his way. He'd thought of everything, except me thinking faster. I photographed everything with my phone as backup, then erased any trace of my access. Before leaving, I placed a small voice-activated recorder behind the bookshelf in his study. Insurance. If he brought Lena here, if they discussed their schemes, I'd have it all on tape. Let them think they'd won. Victory makes people careless, talkative, honest about their cruelty. Looking back, I saw the pattern clearly now. For 3 years, Eric had been slowly eroding my confidence. It started subtly. Comments about my weight after Emma's birth. Suggestions that I'd let myself go, that other wives tried harder. He discouraged me from seeing friends, claiming family time was more important, then spend that family time on his phone. When I'd express concerns about his late nights, he'd accuse me of being paranoid and controlling. Classic gaslighting that made me question my own reality. He'd criticize my parenting in front of the kids, undermining my authority, then play the fun dad who let them break my rules. He'd hide important mail, so I'd miss appointments, then call me disorganized and scattered. Every achievement I mentioned was met with dismissive comments or immediate topic changes to his own accomplishments. My master's degree completed online while raising Bobbies. Nice, but not very practical. My freelance writing income that paid for family vacations. Cute hobby money. He'd systematically isolated me, diminished me, prepared me to be the unstable, incompetent wife he could discard. Except his overthinking perfectionist wife had been documenting every incident in a private journal. Dates, quotes, witnesses. My supposed weakness was now my strength. The property records took 2 days to uncover, but they were worth the search. Eric had purchased a condo downtown 8 months ago, a sleek 2-bedroom in the renovated district we'd once toured together. I remembered that day. He'd called it overpriced and impractical, Apparently, impractical for our family, perfect for his new life. The property listing showed Lena as co-signer on the mortgage. Her name, her signature, her financial commitment. They'd been planning this for nearly a year, building their future while I packed school lunches and attended parent-teacher conferences. The condo was furnished according to the building's online resident portal Eric had carelessly left logged in on our shared tablet. Modern, minimalist, nothing like our family home. No photos of Tyler and Emma. No traces of the decade we'd built together. Just a blank slate for his reinvention. I smiled, photographing every document. This condo would become Exhibit A in court. Proof of deliberate deception, hidden assets, planned abandonment. Eric thought he was smart, covering his tracks, but he'd left a highway of evidence for anyone patient enough to follow it. My former colleague, Nina, called unexpectedly on Thursday. We'd worked together before Tyler was born, stayed friendly through occasional coffee dates Eric always discouraged. "Maya, I don't know if I should tell you this," she began hesitantly. "But I ran into Eric at that wine bar downtown last week. He was with Lena, and they were talking pretty loudly. He said something about finally upgrading his life, getting rid of dead weight. He was laughing about it." The words stung, but they also fueled my resolve. Eric's arrogance was showing publicly now. He couldn't resist bragging about his clever plan. "He said you'd never see it coming," Nina continued, anger edging her voice. "That you were too trusting, too busy with the kids to notice anything. Maya, I'm so sorry. I should have called sooner." I thanked her, my voice steady despite the rage simmering beneath. After hanging up, I contacted my lawyer, attorney Patricia Morris. "We're ready," I told her. "He's getting comfortable, making mistakes. Time to strike." Patricia's smile was audible through the phone. "I've been waiting for this call. Let's destroy him legally." The pieces were falling into place perfectly. Eric texted me Friday afternoon asking to meet for dinner, just the two of us. "We need to talk about our future," his message read. "I think we can work this out." I almost laughed. He wanted to manipulate me in person, probably convince me to sign away my rights in exchange for empty promises. I agreed to meet him at our favorite restaurant, the Italian place where he'd proposed 10 years ago. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. I wore the blue dress he'd always loved, styled my hair the way he preferred, played the role perfectly. At dinner, Eric was charming, apologetic, the man I'd married flickering across his face like a mask. "I overreacted the other night," he said, reaching for my hand across the table. "The stress at work, it made me crazy. I love you, Maya. I love our family. Come home." His words were smooth, rehearsed. I nodded, letting tears well in my eyes, playing my part. My phone sat in my purse, recording every word. "Tell me the truth, Eric," I whispered. "Is there someone else?" He hesitated, then sighed dramatically. "There was something with Lena, but it's over. She meant nothing. You're my wife." Perfect. Clear admission on tape. I excused myself to the bathroom and sent the recording to Patricia. By Monday, his HR department would receive an anonymous copy. The following week, Eric's carefully constructed professional life began crumbling. His company had strict policies about workplace relationships and ethical conduct. The recording of him admitting to an affair with Lena, his direct report, violated multiple policies. HR launched an investigation immediately. His promotion, set to be announced that month, was suspended. His reputation among colleagues who'd respected him for years began deteriorating as whispers spread through the office. Lena was transferred to another department, their relationship now under scrutiny. Eric called me Tuesday night, his voice shaking with fury. "What did you do?" he shouted. "My career is destroyed. They're investigating me because of some anonymous recording. This has your fingerprints all over it." I kept my voice calm, almost sweet. "I don't know what you're talking about, Eric. Maybe someone from the anniversary party heard you that night. You were pretty loud when you told me to leave. Actions have consequences." His breathing was ragged. "You vindictive witch. I'll make sure you get nothing in the divorce, nothing." I smiled into the phone. "We'll see about that. Oh, and Eric. I filed for divorce this morning. You'll be served tomorrow." The silence that followed was delicious. Then the dial tone. He'd hung up, probably to call his lawyer in a panic. I'd been quietly building my financial independence for 6 months. The freelance writing Eric dismissed as a hobby had grown into steady income through 3 corporate clients. I'd opened a separate bank account he knew nothing about, depositing every payment there. I'd also started an online consulting business helping other writers find clients, which generated additional revenue. By the time Eric kicked me out, I had enough saved for 6 months of expenses plus emergency funds. I wasn't the helpless, dependent wife he'd imagined. I'd seen this coming and prepared accordingly. My mother helped with childcare while I worked, and I'd enrolled in an online financial planning course. I learned about investments, retirement accounts, asset protection. Everything Eric had always handled, keeping me deliberately ignorant, I now understood thoroughly. When I met with Patricia to discuss divorce strategy, she was impressed. "You've done everything right," she said, reviewing my documentation. "Financial independence, evidence gathering, witness statements. Eric thinks he's divorcing a naive housewife. He's actually up against someone who's been preparing for battle." I nodded, feeling genuinely empowered for the first time in years. "He taught me to be underestimated. Now it's his biggest mistake." Patricia grinned. "Let's make him regret every lie." Eric filed his divorce papers 3 days after I filed mine. His petition was arrogant, demanding full custody and minimal support. The courtroom felt smaller than I'd expected. Eric sat across the aisle with his lawyer, an expensive suit that screamed overconfidence. He smirked when our eyes met, clearly believing his legal team would destroy me. My simple dress and modest appearance probably reinforced his assumption that I was outmatched and overwhelmed. Judge Anderson called the proceedings to order, and Eric's lawyer opened with aggressive confidence. He painted me as an unstable mother who'd abandoned the family home, who was emotionally unfit for custody, who'd contributed nothing financially to the marriage. I sat quietly, hands folded, while Patricia let them talk. Then it was our turn. Patricia stood, commanding the room with quiet authority. "Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence that contradicts opposing counsel's narrative." She methodically displayed bank statements showing Eric's secret transfers, emails detailing his affair and plan to leave me destitute, the hidden condo purchase with his mistress as co-signer, hotel receipts, and the recording of him admitting the affair. The courtroom went silent except for papers shuffling. Eric's smirk vanished, replaced by pale shock. His lawyer whispered frantically to him, clearly blindsided. Patricia continued, showing my financial independence, my stable housing with my mother, character witnesses including Tyler's teacher and our pediatrician who'd document my consistent parenting. Eric's confident mask cracked completely, revealing the panic underneath. What happened next I never expected. Lena contacted me through a mutual acquaintance 2 weeks after the first court hearing. She wanted to meet privately, claimed she had information I needed. I was suspicious, obviously, but curiosity won. We met at a neutral coffee shop and Lena looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, weight lost, confidence shattered. "He's been cheating on me too," she said without preamble, sliding her phone across the table. "Look." The photos showed Eric with another woman, younger than both of us, at restaurants and hotels. Text messages revealed he'd been seeing her for 3 months, even while planning his future with Lena. "I thought I was special," Lena whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I destroyed your marriage because he made me believe we had something real, but I was just another transaction to him." Despite everything, I felt a flicker of sympathy. She'd been manipulated too, just differently. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked carefully. "Because you deserve to win," she said firmly. "And because I have more evidence. Financial records he kept at the condo, conversations I recorded when I realized he was lying. I'll testify for you, Maya. I'll help you destroy him legally." I studied her face, searching for deception, but found only exhausted honesty. She'd been used and discarded just like me. "Send everything to my lawyer," I finally said. The custody hearing 2 weeks later was decisive. Patricia presented overwhelming evidence of my stability, dedication, and the children's preference to stay with me. Tyler had written a letter to the judge, simple and heartbreaking. "I want to live with Mommy. She helps with homework and makes me feel safe. Daddy is always busy with his phone." Emma's child psychologist testified that Emma showed anxiety around Eric, constantly seeking reassurance he rarely provided. The children's wishes, combined with evidence of Eric's affair, hidden assets, and workplace misconduct, painted a clear picture. Judge Anderson awarded me full physical custody, with Eric receiving supervised visitation every other weekend. The supervision requirement was due to his demonstrated dishonesty and the psychologist's concerns about emotional stability. Eric's face turned crimson with rage and humiliation. His lawyer attempted to argue, but the evidence was overwhelming. Outside the courthouse, Eric confronted me, his voice venomous. "You turned my own children against me." I met his eyes calmly. "No, Eric, you did that yourself. I just stopped covering for you." His parents, who'd attended the hearing, approached slowly. His mother looked at me with something like regret. "We're sorry, Maya," she said quietly. "We didn't know the extent of his behavior. The children should be with you." Even his own family was abandoning him. Perfect poetic justice. The financial settlement hearing was equally satisfying. Patricia had systematically dismantled every attempt Eric made to hide assets. The downtown condo, legally considered a marital asset since it was purchased during our marriage with funds from his salary, which was marital income. His private bank account, also discoverable and divisible. The $40,000 he'd transferred days before kicking me out. Considered fraudulent transfer, ordered returned with penalties. Judge Anderson was particularly harsh on Eric's deceptive practices. "Mr. Morrison," she said sternly, using the name from the court documents, "your deliberate attempts to defraud your wife and manipulate the legal system reflect poorly on your character. This court does not reward such behavior." Eric was ordered to pay significant spousal support, child support, and split all remaining assets equally. He'd also cover my legal fees, which were substantial. The hidden condo had to be sold, profits split. His retirement accounts divided. Even the savings account he'd thought was secret, claimed. I walked out of court financially secure with full custody and my dignity restored. Eric walked out with supervised visitation, depleted finances, and a destroyed reputation. I'd won completely. That evening, I used part of the settlement advance to rent a beautiful 3-bedroom house with a backyard where Tyler and Emma could play. Our sanctuary, our fresh start. No traces of Eric's betrayal, just new memories waiting to be built. 2 months later, Nina called again with news. Her company was expanding and needed someone to lead their content development team. The position paid significantly more than my freelance work, offered benefits, and aligned perfectly with my skills. "I immediately thought of you," Nina said warmly. "You're talented, organized, and honestly, watching you handle everything with Eric proved you're stronger than anyone I know. Want the job?" I accepted within a day. The interview was a formality since Nina had already advocated for me internally. My professional life was rebuilding faster than I'd imagined possible. My network expanded as word spread about my skills. Former colleagues reached out, surprised I was available, eager to collaborate. Meanwhile, Eric's professional reputation continued crumbling. The investigation at his company concluded with a formal reprimand on his record. His promotion was permanently canceled. Colleagues who once respected him now kept distance, associating him with scandal and poor judgment. One evening, 3 months after the divorce finalized, my doorbell rang unexpectedly. I checked the security camera I'd installed and saw Eric standing on my porch, looking disheveled and defeated. Against my better judgment, I opened the door but didn't invite him inside. "What do you want, Eric?" I asked, voice neutral. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, exhausted eyes. Karma was working overtime. "Maya, please," Eric began, his voice cracking with desperation. "I made a terrible mistake. I miss our family. I miss the kids. I miss you. Can we try again? I'll do anything." I stared at him, searching for the man I'd once loved, but finding only a stranger who'd revealed his true character. "You miss the stability," I corrected him calmly. "You miss having someone manage your home, raise your children, cover for your flaws. You don't miss me. You miss what I provided." He stepped forward, reaching for my hand. I stepped back. "I've changed," he insisted. "Losing everything made me realize what mattered. Give me another chance, for the kids." Before I could respond, Tyler appeared behind me, having heard his father's voice. "Mom," my son said firmly, his young voice filled with protective strength. "Don't take him back. We're happy now. He made you cry all the time before. Please don't let him hurt you again." My heart broke and swelled simultaneously. Tyler's words, simple and honest, reflected the truth. We were happy now, genuinely happy in ways we hadn't been for years. Emma appeared next, clutching her stuffed rabbit, looking at Eric with cautious eyes. "Daddy makes Mommy sad," she said softly. My children's loyalty, their instinctive protection of our peace, gave me absolute clarity. I looked at Eric, seeing him truly for the first time without love or hope clouding my vision. "The answer is no, Eric," I said firmly. We're not a family anymore. You destroyed that yourself. Move on with your life and let us move on with ours. He tried arguing, pleading, then anger flashed across his face. You'll regret this, Maya. I'll find a way to make your life difficult. You haven't one. I smiled sadly. I already have one, Eric. I have my children, my peace, my self-respect. What do you have? He left without answering, and I closed the door on that chapter permanently. But Eric wasn't finished attempting to sabotage my peace. He created a blog 2 weeks later, posting his twisted version of events. According to his narrative, I was a manipulative wife who trapped him in a loveless marriage, turned his children against him, and destroyed his career out of spite. The posts were detailed, emotional, designed to garner sympathy. Some people believed him, commenting support and outrage on his behalf. Others, who knew the real story or recognized the manipulation, defended me in the comments section. The blog became a small battleground of opinions. My lawyer advised ignoring it, but the public humiliation stung. Then something unexpected happened. Someone, likely Nina or another friend, shared the court documents online. Eric's admission of adultery, the evidence of hidden assets, Lena's testimony, the judge's scathing remarks about his character. The truth spread faster than his lies. His blog comments turned hostile toward him. People called him out for deception and playing victim. Eric's online attacks escalated. He started showing up at my workplace, calling repeatedly, sending aggressive emails demanding to see the children outside his supervised schedule. His behavior became erratic enough that Patricia advised filing for a restraining order. "This is harassment," she explained. "Document everything and file immediately. His instability is escalating." I compiled screenshots of threatening messages, witness statements from coworkers who'd seen him loitering outside my building, and the concerning blog posts where he'd implied violence. The evidence was overwhelming. In court, Judge Anderson reviewed the documentation with visible displeasure. "Mr. Morrison, your behavior constitutes harassment and violates the spirit of the custody agreement. I'm granting the restraining order. You will maintain 500 feet distance from Ms. Maya except during scheduled, supervised visitations." Eric started to protest, but his lawyer wisely silenced him. The judge continued, "Any violation will result in immediate arrest and potential loss of all parental rights. Do you understand?" Eric nodded, defeated. The restraining order was granted that day. That evening, Lena called me. We'd maintained minimal contact since her testimony, but her voice now carried urgent concern. "Maya, I need to tell you something Eric told me before everything fell apart. He admitted he'd been planning to leave you for over a year. He deliberately sabotaged couples counseling you'd suggested. He wanted you to feel crazy and alone." Lena continued, her voice heavy with guilt. "He said manipulating you was easy because you trusted him completely. He laughed about it, Maya, about how you never suspected anything until it was too late." Her words, though painful, completed the picture. Eric hadn't just fallen out of love. He'd systematically destroyed our marriage while making me believe I was the problem. "There's more," Lena added hesitantly. "Eric has another hidden bank account. He showed it to me once when we were together, bragging about his emergency fund. It's in the Cayman Islands, offshore. I have the account numbers. He never disclosed it during the divorce." My heart raced. This was the final piece. Patricia filed an emergency motion to reopen the financial settlement based on newly discovered assets. The offshore account contained over $100,000, hidden specifically to avoid division. Judge Anderson was furious at this continued deception. She ruled that the entire undisclosed account would go to me as penalty for Eric's fraudulent concealment. Additionally, he was ordered to pay further fines and my legal costs for this additional proceeding. Eric's lawyer looked exhausted, probably regretting ever taking this case. Eric himself sat in stunned silence as the judgment was read. Every attempt he'd made to outsmart the system had backfired spectacularly. His clever plans had become his downfall. With the offshore account legally transferred to my name, I finally had true financial security. The kids' college funds were fully established. Our emergency savings were robust. I could breathe without constant financial anxiety for the first time in years. But money wasn't the real victory. The real victory was freedom. I decided to do something symbolic with a portion of the funds. I donated $20,000 to a women's shelter that helped domestic abuse survivors escape and rebuild their lives. Another $10,000 went to a legal aid fund, helping women afford divorce attorneys when leaving toxic marriages. The donations felt like closing a circle, transforming my pain into something that helped others. The local news covered the donations, and a reporter asked why I'd chosen those organizations. Because I was fortunate to have resources and support when I needed to leave, I explained carefully, not nomming Eric directly. Many women don't have that advantage. If my experience can help even one person escape and rebuild, then something good came from something terrible. The interview aired that evening. Friends called with support and pride. My children watched, Emma asking, "Mommy, you're helping people." I nodded. "Always try to help others, sweetheart. Even when you're hurting, especially then." That philosophy became my foundation moving forward. Meanwhile, Eric's life continued its downward spiral, consequences of his own choices cascading. 6 months after everything settled, I drove past Eric's small apartment with the kids after their supervised visitation. He'd been forced to move from his luxury condo to a modest one-bedroom in a less desirable neighborhood. His car, once a sleek luxury sedan he'd bought during the affair, had been repossessed when he couldn't maintain payments after the settlement. Through mutual acquaintances, I'd heard he was working part-time at his brother's construction company, his corporate career essentially over after the scandal. The man who'd once bragged about upgrading his life was now living a downgraded existence entirely of his own making. Tyler looked out the window at his father's building and said quietly, "Dad looks sad lately." I glanced at my son in the rearview mirror. Sometimes people make choices that lead to consequences they didn't expect. "Your dad is learning some hard lessons." Emma, ever perceptive despite her young age, asked the question that mattered most. "Mom, are you happy now?" I smiled, genuinely and completely. "Yes, sweetheart, I really am." And it was true. Happiness had returned gradually, built on foundations of self-respect, boundaries, authentic relationships, and hard-won wisdom. I discovered strength I never knew existed within me. The woman Eric had tried to diminish, and discard had risen from those ashes, transformed and unbreakable. We drove home to our cozy house where dinner waited in the slow cooker, homework sat on the kitchen table, and evening routines promised comfort and stability. That evening, as I tucked Emma into bed and kissed Tyler goodnight, I reflected on the journey from that humiliating anniversary party to this moment of peace. I'd been broken down, betrayed, and dismissed, but I'd refused to stay broken. Instead, I documented, planned, fought strategically, and reclaimed everything Eric tried to steal. My dignity, my financial security, my children, my future. In my bedroom, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The exhausted, anxious woman who'd once stared back was gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and genuinely content. My phone buzzed with a text from Eric. "Can we talk? I know I messed up, please." I deleted it without responding. Some conversations were finished. Some bridges deserved to stay burned. Then I remembered that terrible night when he'd stood in our living room and delivered his cruel command. "Maya, take the kids and leave." I'd done exactly that. I'd taken our children and left, but I hadn't left broken and defeated as he'd intended. I'd left strategic and prepared. Now, looking at the life I'd rebuilt, I whispered his own words back to the universe, reclaiming their power. "Take the kids and leave." And I smiled because I had. And in doing so, I'd walked away from toxicity and into freedom. The door had closed on Eric permanently. And through the window, dawn was breaking on the rest of my beautiful, hard-won life.